Gracias, Presidente, colleagues.
Thank you, President, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honour and a pleasure for me to be with you today to open the fifth EU-CELAC Business Summit. Let me begin by thanking Commissioner Bankovska and Mimica for having taken the initiative to organise this event in close collaboration with business and Latin American Caribbean business representatives. The high number and high level of participants in this meeting, many business people, shows just how strong our relationship is, and this is a demonstration of the huge exploited we have between our hands. We are here today to talk business, to permit business, and our relationship goes beyond a mere economic relationship. It's a question of economy and trade, but also political dialogue and cooperation in many areas, research, right through to public administration. We've added to the three dimensions then of economic, political and cooperation, the three pillars of our association. And the summit, which is about to start between the EU and CELAC, will have as its objective a strengthening of the three pillars in a consistent and harmonious way. This focus means that our cooperation will become all the more significant. We represent 1/3 of the United Nations members, about half of the members of the G20, bringing together our two regions. Therefore, we can achieve an awful lot on the world scene, in world stage, if we invest together in our special relationship. We should never forget this broader context. However, in looking at economic figures and how things have developed since our strategic association was launched in 1999, the numbers are indeed impressive. Of the 33 CELAC countries, 26 have concluded association and trade agreements of the European Union. And trade in goods between the EU and Latin America and Caribbean has virtually doubled over the last decade. Now it's worth over 200 million euros in 2014. The EU has been watching with interest the progression of further trade agreements, to update existing agreements and to strengthen the legal basis of what we do together with other organisations. The EU is already the #1 foreign investor in the region with more than 500 billion euros. That is more than 1/3 of the foreign investment stock in CELAC countries. This means that we are investing more in Latin America and the Caribbean than we're investing in Russia, China and India together. I'd also like to focus on another factor. This trend has continued to be positive, notwithstanding the worst financial crisis that we've lived through in a century. And in a certain way, it's helped remedy the crisis. The crisis has not stood in the way of EU investment in Latin America and the Caribbean. European investors have arrived there to stay. For me, our transatlantic association means not just the United States of America and Canada, but also Latin America and the Caribbean. Moreover, the Atlantic is becoming a two-way street when it comes to capital, because investments from Latin American Caribbean into the European Union have increased also over recent years. And we are delighted to see this new trend in Europe. It is our wish that we be able to continue to promote investment in both directions. I sincerely believe that our cooperation can help growth on both continents in the coming years. Thanks to important national and European reforms focusing on economic governance this year, for the first time since the start of the crisis, we do hope that all the member states of the European Union will be seeing positive rates of growth. Notwithstanding, that's still not enough. In the next 5 years, It is hoped that 90% of world growth will come from out of Europe. That's the expectation, and that's particularly relevant for European business, especially for small and medium-sized businesses. Given that at present only 10% of European SMEs in the manufacturing sector export goods to countries outside of the EU. At the same time, Latin America and the Caribbean have experienced strong growth, especially in the last decade, with an average of 5%, largely thanks to domestic policies, but also thanks to certain international circumstances that have been favourable. The challenge now is to maintain that growth in a different environment and to move on from an export model based on exporting natural resources to a model based on exporting knowledge-based products where innovation and creativity will be the main driver for structural change. This implies acquiring the technology, know-how, skills and capital that are necessary to increase productivity. It also requires major investment in infrastructure, transport, information and communication technology, research and education. The region will benefit from being integrated into overall value chains, and in that way will be part of the major dynamics we are seeing on the trade front. Again, it's particularly relevant for small and medium-sized businesses, which represent the majority of the workforce and economic fabric, both in the European Union and Latin America and the Caribbean. But we still have to overcome certain obstacles to make full advantage of this dynamism. So we need to unite our forces and to explore in what ways our economies can be complementary. Europe is ready to lend a helping hand with a friendship that binds us and for our mutual benefit and interest of our peoples. There are many good examples to follow. I'd just like to mention European investment to install a new optic fibre cable linking Brazil with Europe, and the huge potential for cooperation in the field of renewable energies. Investment of European companies in Latin America and the Caribbean are a way of transferring technology and know-how, and it increases the local technical capability, can increase production and generates positive effects in terms of productivity and makes a contribution to the creation of better skilled jobs. There are various EU programs which can also be at the service of these objectives. Horizon 2020, Vision Euroinvest, Erasmus+, Eurosocial. These are all programs which can help to improve human capital, innovation and technological development. Regional development banks also have an important role to play, in particular in providing access to funding for new players. We'd like to work together with them in a team to make full use of our collective potential so that we can achieve tangible results. A good example can be seen in the facilities for investment in Latin America and the Caribbean, which since their establishment have mobilized some 5 billion euros from investors and financial bodies. 26.5 euro has been invested for every euro coming from this facility, which is a considerable multiplier effect. Trade, business relations, investment then are at the centre of our association. It's not merely a question of numbers, though. It's not a question of the great increase in economic relationship. It's also a question of the quality of this growth. Business has a crucial role to play in contributing to welfare, stability and prosperity of our societies by creating quality jobs and by empowering citizens. We need to strengthen the role played by the private sector and the contribution it can make to an inclusive economic growth, to the creation of decent jobs and a transition towards a green economy, food security, protection of the environment, fight against climate change, social progress and economic empowerment of women and young people, paying particular attention to the poorest and most vulnerable members of the population. So this is our collective responsibility. together. We need to work to this. The investment chapter and business initiative chapter in the EU's Action CELAC plan includes some clear provisions as to how to boost social and corporate responsibility, and the European Union attaches great importance to this dimension. The role played by public institutions and governments in the European Union is to provide the necessary direction and to support to policy to eliminate unnecessary barriers and obstacles and to provide some predictability and legal security. Our function, therefore, is to facilitate. We're not there to replace the private sector, but to help it. During this business summit, then, you will have plenty of opportunities to hear about these opportunities, and the major conclusions to be reached today will then be presented to the political leaders by representatives of the business sector from EU and CELAC. So you can count on my own personal commitment and involvement to providing a follow-up to the results of this summit, together with the other members of the European Commission who deal with trade, private sector and development cooperation, and with the member states of the European Union and countries of Latin America and Caribbean in our respective areas of responsibility. Our friendship has deep roots. We have a strong relationship. We share the same values, the vision of a more cooperative world order based on working together. Now we can increase further the level of our ambition. Our association can grow more strongly looking ahead to the future. We can look to an association which will be to the benefit of the future of our peoples. So I look forward to your committed cooperation on both sides of the Atlantic to make this a reality. Thank you.
A continuación, tiene la palabra.
I'd now like